Hey everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey, and I am going to share with you how I set up and a flip through of this Felicity Jane Scalloped standard size traveler's notebook. There are 4 strings inside, and it's got these really cute pockets and then a little Swiss dot pattern on the inside, and they are super cute. Now, I had purchased these 1407 inserts to go inside of there because I had anticipated maybe doing a little mixed media in there too, but wow, I bought the wrong size, so I'm going to have to purchase some of the correct size. No matter, I also purchased some of these Felicity Jane Buffalo Check notebooks, and then that other one that's different came with the notebook itself. So I have 3 great inserts that are ready to go, and these are nice because the pages are plain. Now I am measuring them because I do this every single time. I like to make sure that I have the exact right size for the measurements, and I know I could just trust that I have the right size from the website or whatever, but I like to measure right there in that moment so I can make sure that I get the exact same size for each insert that's needed. Now I'm going to use papers from the Kate collection, and I will link those up for you down below, as well as the notebook itself. And the pages are really pretty and feminine, but they also have a really super neutral flair as well, which I'm really excited about. I'm sorry. Now, because I have 3 of the inserts, I'm going to choose 3 patterned papers, and I'm going to use ones from these Kate collections. So I'm looking through which ones I want to use for the notebooks, and then also keeping in mind the ones that I want to use for scrapbooking as well. So I choose these 3 because the floral and the pink with the little white polka dots just absolutely needed to be in the traveler's notebook without question. They were just perfect for it. And then the third one, I just really liked the contrast that the polka dot provided from those 2. It was a little bit more playful and a little less feminine, if that makes sense. Obviously the floral is feminine. And then I felt like the soft pink with the white polka dots was also incredibly feminine as well. So now I'm just going to trim the papers down to the correct size to fit over the top of the traveler's notebooks. So I'll trim all 3 of them to be the same size, and hopefully then when I fold them and all of that, that they will be correct. However, sometimes I do give myself a fairly wide margin in terms of so that they wrap around really nicely, but sometimes I do go a little bit overboard, so I have to trim just a teeny tiny little bit off to make sure that they fit. So now you can see I've got all 3 of the pattern papers trimmed, and I'm also going to pull out of my collection a corner rounder as well so that I can round those corners. So now you can see right there I'm matching that up, and it is hanging over just a little bit because I did give myself that wide margin. So after I trim these corners, which makes no sense by the way, obviously you would trim the notebook down before you rounded the corners, but no matter, it's just, one of those quirky things that I did this time because I wasn't really thinking. Ever happened to you? So now I am folding them all in half, and I'll make sure that they get all rounded, and that's because the Felicity Jane notebooks have rounded corners, and so I wanted them to match. I wanted my corners of my papers to match the corners of the inserts. So when I use the 1407 inserts, I don't typically round the corners, not because I don't like them, I do like them, but the inserts don't have rounded corners, and I don't really want to mess with rounding the corners of the inserts, though I certainly could. That wouldn't be a problem at all. Now, as you can see, those pattern papers really did turn out to be lovely, and they work together really nicely. Now what I need to do is I need to go through my stash and find some vellum and some transparencies or acetate to coordinate with this. Now I don't like them to be super matchy-matchy. I like them to coordinate. I like them to go well, but I don't want them to be like, oh my gosh, of course she chose that. That's perfect together. I like to have them all go together. They feel like a natural fit, but they aren't just completely no-brainers. So that even means sometimes with this I might choose a lot of gold foil, but then I also might choose a silver or gray as well, just because I like the whole look at the entire thing when it's coming together. So now I'm going to choose this vellum. It's got a gold script on it, and most of these are old. These are from my stash. I've had them for a really long time, so you may not be able to get these exact ones, so I will link you down below current ones that are available. So then I also have a gold dot vellum, and I also have a gold foil floral vellum, And then I also have, in terms of the transparency or the acetate, I have a gray slash silver dot and then also a white cloud. And I liked all of these together because, okay, so the script is obviously a free-flowing script, and then the polka dots share that same sort of graphic feel. And then the floral and the clouds lend itself sort of that more natural feel to go with the floral from the patterned paper. So I love pulling all of those different elements together. I'm not creating completely a linear book with only polka dots or stripes or triangles, but I'm also not creating all florals and wood grains and clouds either. I'm doing a mix of all three different types of things that you might see. Now those florals and, or I'm sorry, not the florals, the foils, the gold foil on those vellums is just absolutely beautiful. I love it, and I love having that in my traveler's notebook because it's so tactile and it's fun to touch. And as we've discussed before, if I think it's beautiful, I'm much, much more likely to pull it out and use it. Now this corner rounder isn't working so great on these papers. So far on the vellum, it's actually not working very well, and I knew that it wouldn't work well at all on the transparency. And so I'm going to use it, but I'm also going to then in a minute pull out a We Are Memory Keepers corner rounder, like a chomper, and you can round several pieces of paper or just one. It's really like heavy duty. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean heavy duty like industrial. I just mean like it's a little bit more heavy duty than just your average random corner puncher. Now you can see there, it actually has two sides. You can punch a 1/4 inch or a 1/2 inch. So first I did the 1/4 just to make sure that it was correct, and it wasn't. And so I started with the smaller because I knew I could always go back and do bigger, but I couldn't. If it was actually smaller, I wouldn't be able to do it if I started with the bigger one. So there's that gray polka dot, and it's really kind of a silvery gray, but it's not like a silver foil or anything like that. And I just really liked it as a contrast to the gold because I do like mixing metals. And I also really like it with the rest of the colors as well, because since it's really just sort of a salmon and a blush pink along with black and white and gold, I just liked having that little bit of contrast and that little bit of pop. Now that floral transparency is from Pink Fresh, and like I said, it's several years old, so I'm not sure you're actually going to still be able to find it, but it's so beautiful and nice and thick, and just touching the gold foil is really just such a lovely experience. Now I'm choosing different pieces to go with each other based on the same thing that I talked about already with you, which was that, like, so for example, I have the linear polka dot transparency and then the more natural floral, and then you have that Swiss dot underneath. So it's just really kind of tying all of those together really nicely, just like how, okay, so that vellum, with the script and then the polka dots. So then you add with that one the cloud transparency, and you get all three genres there, the script, the natural, and then the graphic as well. So that's what I'm trying to do here, is to combine different things. So right there, for example, you have the natural with the floral and then the linear with the polka dots, so, or the graphic with the polka dots, I'm sorry. So now I'm going to put all of these inside of the actual traveler's notebook, and like I said before, there are 4 strings, but I'm only actually going to use 3 because I do anticipate adding die cuts and other dimensional items once I start my actual journaling on the inside. And so I know that this will actually probably get fairly thick all on its own. And I'm not going to lie, while I love a good chunky pocket-sized traveler's notebook, I also really love a slim traveler's notebook. Now I had pulled out the wrong 3x4 journaling cards to go along with this, so I'm going to have to pull out the correct ones. I'm pulling out the Kate collection ones from my Felicity Jane items, and they're just really beautiful, and obviously they're going to coordinate really well. I love using these for decor on the outside of the pages for my traveler's notebooks. I know that I don't do this in the same way that a lot of people do with putting pockets and all kinds of different things in there, and it's not because I don't like it. It's I don't use this as a planner per se, and so I don't need to have all of these other things stuffed in there. All right, so this pocket card and this little Polaroid photo go well together, and I love it. It's one of my favorite photos too, so I'm excited to use that on the cover once you open the inside of the traveler's notebook itself. And I'm going to use my Tombow adhesive just to adhere that all down together. And then now what I'm going to do is go through the Kate die cuts, which are beautiful, and then they also have some really pretty foil elements, gold foil elements, along with the florals and the black and whites. It's really just such a treat. I really love it a lot. So I'm pulling out that little strip, and it has gold foil on it, and I liked that with the rest of this because it's really combining all of the elements like we talked about already with the patterned papers and such. So now I'm just layering a couple more little smaller die cuts as well, the heart and I'm going to pull out like a little banner. I already have a flower on there that is attached with a foam adhesive, and it gives it a little bit of dimension, so I don't need to have that with the die cuts. I'm able to go flat since I already have that on that particular photo. Now I will add a couple of enamel dots as well. They're just really fun, and they add a little bit of shine, but they're very, very simple. Kind of think about like a button, you know, like it adds a little bit of something, but it's very, very simple. So now I'm really liking how that all came together. It feels really decorative and cute, but yet it's super simple, which is totally my style. So now I don't want to use something permanent to adhere it to that patterned paper because who knows, I might want to reuse the patterned paper in a different way in the future, or I might want to use this cluster in a different way in the future. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull out a plain paper clip, and I'm going to paper clip the cluster of embellishments to the patterned paper itself. Now I didn't choose a decorative one because the rest of the elements are so decorative, and I really wanted it to be simple and not take any of the attention away from the different pieces. Now again, I'm taking a different one of those journaling cards and layering together a shipping tag for my stash, and then another one of those die cuts from the Kate collection. They're just so pretty and they go together so well, and I'm really, really loving the whole thing. And so I decided that it would be really pretty to keep a small, simple little cluster right there. And so this time I did pull out a decorative paper clip for the same reasons, and I'm going to clip that all to that piece of transparency. So now I have two notebooks that the outside of it is decorated. Now I want to decorate the third. Now I'm trying to decide which way to go. There's still a lot of die cuts left, but then I remember that I have this really pretty striped card. And then there's that girl die cut in there. And the girl is not something that I would typically use for my scrapbooking, so I felt like I could really go ahead and use her here. Now I'm also putting that little banner die cut as well, and then I want to not only include these elements, but I also want to include some text. So I'm going to use the teeny tiny little Felicity Jane paper clip to attach it to the transparency. And then when I'm finished with that, I'm going to pull out some thickers, like with the TH sound at the beginning, from American Crafts. And what I like about these is they add the dimension. So you'll see this in just a second. But the first thing I'm going to do is hopefully find something that'll fit nicely in that pocket. But they're really just not the right scale for that, so I'm going to have to think of something else in the future to include. So right there's one of the thickers. I used the letter J since my first name is Jenny. And then now I'm going to go back to this one, and I'm going to spell out the word books. I had initially wanted to do read, since this is, like I said before, going to be a book journal, but I didn't have all the alphabets left. So this one is super cute. It's black and white, and the white has a little bit of polka dot on there, and it's just really, really fun and just matches so well with this overall color palette and theme that I have here, since there's so many different polka dots, and then also the black and white just goes really well too. Now once I make sure that those are all stuck down, because sometimes the chipboard ones have a tendency to lose their stick over time, it just looks great and we're all finished. So that's it. I'm going to show you a little flip through, and I am all through. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching. I really do hope you enjoyed it. I will leave you some links down below, and if you have any questions, please make sure to ask. Thanks so much, and make it a great day.